Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. The day Ethan Cole and I went to register our marriage, he looked at me and said, "Between us, there will only ever be the title of husband and wife. Nothing real. As long as you behave and fulfill your duties as Mrs. Cole, you can have anything you want except me." I listened obediently. For 3 years I played the role of his wife perfectly. 3 years later, Haley, Ethan's first love, his so-called white moonlight, handed me a check for $1 million and told me to leave him. She said Ethan told her that we were only victims of the grudges between our families, that our marriage had always been empty, just a title, never love. Ethan wants a real family now, she said. He wants a child with the woman he truly loves. You've already taken 3 years of his life. Please let him go. So, he had loved someone else all along and I was just clinging to something that was never mine. That night I went to Ethan's study. "You once said I could have anything I wanted. Does that still count?" Ethan put down the folder he was reading. His long, slender fingers removed the glasses resting on the bridge of his nose. His gaze shifted slightly, and the corner of his lips lifted into a faint smile. "Of course. What do you want?" I tightened my grip on the papers in my hand and placed the divorce agreement in front of him. "I want you to sign this." To everyone else, marrying Ethan Cole was like winning the lottery. Overnight, I became Mrs. Cole, stepping into luxury and status. But what they didn't know was that this marriage was never what either of us truly wanted. Back then, my grandfather had fallen seriously ill and was hospitalized at St. Mary's Medical Center. Coincidentally, Ethan's grandfather was also admitted to the same hospital. One day, the two old men recognized each other. They had been comrades during the war, and my grandfather had once saved his life. As they reminisced about the past, my grandfather became emotional and teary-eyed. He confessed his greatest fear, that after his death, my stepmother and her family would mistreat me. Seeing his old friend's sorrow, Ethan's grandfather couldn't bear it and promised on the spot that he would have me marry into the Cole family so I would be taken care of. And so, on the first day I met Ethan Cole, the next day I learned I was engaged to him. By the third day we were husband and wife. Right after we received our marriage certificate, Ethan looked at me and said plainly, "We're only husband and wife in name. There's nothing real between us. As long as you do your part well as Mrs. you can have anything you want except me." Strangely, his words made me feel relieved. After all, marrying a man I had known for only 3 days, honestly, I wasn't ready to accept him either. We lived under the same roof, polite and distant like two strangers. At first it was awkward, but Ethan was genuinely a good man. In daily life, the housekeeper and staff took care of me. Financially, he transferred $200,000 into my account every month, and even gave me a supplementary credit card to share his expenses. As for his personal life, he always kept his distance and upheld the boundaries expected of a married man. I had never once seen any scandal or rumor about him in the media. Few people even knew he was married, and no one knew I existed. As time passed, our relationship became calm and strangely comfortable. I once thought that maybe living like this forever wouldn't be so bad, but I had forgotten. He never loved me. So of course he would never let me stay as Mrs. Cole forever. Last night Ethan didn't come home. In truth, that wasn't unusual. Sometimes he stayed out because of work. It wasn't unusual for Ethan not to come home, but this time felt different. I stared at the news on the screen. Ethan Cole was gently holding Haley by the arm, helping her walk along the beach at night. She looked up at him with shy, tender eyes. It was the first time since our marriage that I had ever seen him in the news with another woman. The headline read, "CEO of Cole Enterprises and award-winning actress Haley Moore spotted together at the beach." The comments beneath the article were endless, most of them praising how perfect they looked together, calling them a match made in heaven, a handsome man and a beautiful woman. I reached out and ran my fingers softly across Ethan's face on the screen. His refined features, calm expression, and deep, steady eyes. My heart tightened painfully in my chest. They really did look perfect together. The next morning I saw him at home. I didn't know when he had returned, and he had no reason to tell me. "Have you been watching the news lately?" His voice came from behind me, warm yet distant. I looked up, my spoon hovering midair above the bowl of oatmeal. "What news?" He studied me for a few seconds, then replied casually, "Nothing, just some nonsense." I nodded lightly and lowered my gaze, continuing to eat. After a moment he spoke again. "If you haven't seen it, that's fine too." His tone was deep and unreadable. I couldn't tell whether it carried relief or regret, but something in it made my heart ache. Maybe part of him had hoped I'd seen the story so he'd have an excuse to bring it up, to finally say what he truly wanted, to leave me. I had once foolishly believed that if I just stayed quiet and pretended not to know, maybe I could stay by his side a little longer. But what isn't truly yours, no matter how tightly you cling to it, will never belong to you. A love without legitimacy, a marriage without meaning, sooner or later must end. Thank you for agreeing to meet me today. The woman sitting across from me was none other than Haley Moore, the most celebrated actress of the moment. When the housekeeper told me she had come to see me, my first instinct was to refuse. But I knew if I refused once, she would come again and again. How many times could I turn her away? "What do you want to talk about?" I asked, though deep down I already knew the answer. Haley lifted her cup of coffee with elegant grace, taking a small sip. Every movement was delicate and poised, her beautiful face framed by a faint, composed smile, as if she already knew she held all the cards. "You know," she began softly, "Ethan and I went to college together." Her eyes gleamed with a hint of pride. "I suppose he never mentioned that to you." I froze for a second, then nodded. "No, he didn't. But he's told me about you." Her expression shifted, her tone turning serious. "You're the woman his grandfather forced him to marry 3 years ago, aren't you? An arranged marriage." So that's how Ethan described it. To her, I was just a woman he'd been forced to marry. It wasn't entirely untrue, but hearing it from her lips still made my heart go numb. "Yes," I said quietly, keeping my face calm. "That's right." Haley smiled faintly, then reached into her purse and pulled out a check. She placed it in front of me. "Here's $1 million. I hope you'll leave Ethan." Her smile was graceful, confident, even gentle, but to me it was blindingly sharp, full of bitterness and humiliation. "Did he send you?" I asked, looking straight into her eyes. Haley shook her head, her voice soft as water. "No, I came on my own. But Ethan did tell me that you two are merely victims of a debt between your families, a marriage that was never real. He wants a true home now, a child with the woman he truly loves." She paused, her gaze tender yet unyielding. "You've already taken 3 years of his life. I hope you can let him go." I didn't take Haley's money. I had carried the title of Mrs. Cole for all these years. To accept money from the woman he loved would strip me of the last trace of dignity I had left. My grandfather had passed away a year earlier. At that time I thought Ethan would divorce me immediately. But he didn't. After my grandfather passed away, Ethan was the one who handled everything. The funeral arrangements, the paperwork, every last detail. My father, my stepmother, and her entire family never once showed up. From the moment they found out my grandfather needed expensive surgery, they disappeared without a trace. The only reason I agreed to marry Ethan Cole was because of my grandfather. Ethan had promised to help pay for his operation. During that time he stayed by my side for 2 whole weeks. When I buried myself under the blanket, sobbing through the night, he would hold me quietly in his arms, waiting patiently until I fell asleep before leaving. When I lost my appetite and couldn't eat a thing, he personally brought home the osmanthus cakes my grandfather used to buy for me when I was little. And when I sank into the deepest loneliness, he gave me a small puppy just so I wouldn't feel so alone anymore. I had already fallen in love with him a long time ago, but the one he loved was never me. How could I be so selfish as to keep such a good man all to myself, preventing him from finding his own happiness? That night I went to his study. Ethan sat behind his desk, his expression cold as always, though there was something strangely distant about him this time. I slowly walked over to stand before him, took a deep breath, and finally spoke. "You once said I could have anything I wanted. Does that still count?" Ethan paused. His long, slender fingers reached up to remove his glasses from the bridge of his nose. A faint flicker of emotion passed through his eyes and his lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible smile. "Of course. What do you want?" It was as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. So he wanted this too. He wanted the divorce. I tightened my grip on the folder in my hand and placed the divorce agreement in front of him. I want you to sign this. The moment the papers touched the desk, my heart clenched so tightly I could barely breathe. My eyes burned with tears I struggled to hold back. I've already signed it, I managed to say, my voice trembling. Once you've signed, we can go finalize the paperwork tomorrow. Before the tears could fall, I turned and walked out of the study. But as soon as I stepped away, I couldn't hold them in any longer. The tears came pouring down, unstoppable like rain in a storm. Back in my room, I buried myself under the blanket and cried until my chest hurt. It was only the second time in my life I had ever cried like that. So this is what love feels like. So painful it burns your eyes. So heavy it makes your body feel numb and hollow. As if your soul has left you. I didn't sleep at all that night. When I looked in the mirror the next morning, my eyes were swollen, my face pale and thin. I took a deep breath, telling myself I couldn't let Ethan see that I'd been crying. I put on layer after layer of makeup until there was no trace of my tears left, then slowly stepped out of my room. I thought I would find him at the breakfast table, but he wasn't there. I waited for a while before the housekeeper spoke softly. Mrs. Cole, the boss, left early this morning. I froze. He's gone. Yes, ma'am, the housekeeper confirmed. A wave of confusion swept over me. Didn't he want the divorce? Why did he leave so early? Was there an emergency at the company? And if so, when would he be free to go with me to finalize the paperwork? I waited from morning until noon, then from noon until night. The next day, the housekeeper told me he hadn't come home all night. I couldn't wait any longer. I called him 4 times, but no one answered. Just as I was about to call again, the line went dead. At that very moment, in his office, Ethan Cole sat with dark circles under his eyes, his face filled with exhaustion and despair. He threw his phone into the trash, only to regret it immediately, fishing it back out again. Across from him, his childhood friend, Ryan Turner, watched silently. Ryan had always known Ethan to be calm and composed, but now he looked like a heartbroken kid hiding in the corner on the verge of tears. Ryan couldn't help but laugh. The great Ethan Cole, billionaire CEO. Who would have thought I'd see you like this? Guess it's true what they say, man. Everyone meets their match someday. Looks like Emma is yours. Ethan gripped his phone tightly, his knuckles white. The phone spun through the air, tracing a perfect arc before Ryan Turner caught it effortlessly. Hey man, he muttered, exasperated. You're mad at her, not me. Don't take it out on me, okay? Before he could finish, a folder came flying his way. Ethan Cole's cold voice filled the office. You were the one who said I should do this to see whether she had any feelings for me. That's why I agreed to visit Haley's movie set. And look where it got me. She must have seen the news. That's why she's asking for a divorce. Ryan waved his hands defensively. Wait a second. You told me you wanted to know if Emma had any feelings for you at all. You asked me to come up with a plan, so I did. Now she wants a divorce. That proves she doesn't have feelings for you, right? You're the one who loves her and isn't being loved back. How is that my fault? Ethan's eyes narrowed sharply, cold and dangerous, like he might actually pull a knife the next second. Ryan froze under his gaze, goosebumps breaking out across his skin. He was just about to slip out when Ethan's voice stopped him dead. If Emma really divorces me, Ethan said, his tone deathly calm, I'll have Jason Tran put together a full slideshow of every single one of your ex-girlfriends, names, photos, everything, and send it straight to Lisa. Ryan instantly went limp, his face drained of color. Bro, I was wrong. Totally wrong, he stammered, almost dropping to his knees in apology. But before he could grovel, Jason burst into the room looking terrified. Mr. Cole, your wife is here. That one sentence hit Ethan like a thunderclap. He jerked upright so suddenly that he nearly stumbled. Ryan's eyes widened. Wait, Emma's here already, man. Couldn't she at least take a month to think it over before deciding to divorce you? It's only the first day. She's that eager. In the 3 years I'd been married to Ethan, I could count on one hand the number of times I'd gone to his company. Only Jason Tran, his assistant, recognized me. So when I arrived, the first thing I did was call him to ask if he could come down to escort me upstairs. 10 minutes passed with no sign of him. I was just about to call again when someone else appeared. Someone I hadn't expected. Emma, you're here to see Ethan? Ryan Turner greeted me with a wide grin as he approached, a noticeable bump on his forehead as if he'd just run into something. I smiled politely and nodded. Yes, could you take me up to see him? Sure, I could, he said, scratching his head, pretending to look regretful. But Ethan's not in the office right now. He's already on a flight to Venture. My heart sank for a moment, but then it clicked. So he really did have work to do. Do you still want to go up? Ryan asked, gesturing toward the elevator behind him. I shook my head gently. No, it's fine. I'll go home and wait for him. He'll have to come back sooner or later. As soon as I left, Ryan practically skipped back into Ethan's office. Crisis averted. I convinced your wife to go home, and you better not tell her I lied for you, okay? Ethan stood silently by the floor-to-ceiling window, his eyes fixed on the parking lot below, like a man waiting for someone who'd already gone. Ryan, meanwhile, couldn't stop talking. Look, Emma's been married to you for 3 years. Legally, you're her husband. Her real husband. Maybe at first you didn't like her. Fine. But now, come on, man. You're head over heels. You're handsome, successful, and a total catch. What's not to love? If she doesn't fall for you, maybe the problem's you. He gestured animatedly, pacing the room like a motivational speaker giving a passionate lecture. It wasn't until Ethan turned around, his expression dark and cold as ice, that Ryan froze mid-sentence and swallowed hard. So, he muttered cautiously, lowering his voice, what do you want me to do now? Ethan didn't respond, but the way his jaw tightened, the faint tremor in his hand, told Ryan everything he needed to know. Ethan Cole was suffering, and for once he had no idea how to fight back. This time his friend had truly fallen in love. Have you ever actually tried to pursue Emma? Ryan asked curiously. Ethan Cole gave a slight nod. Yeah. Ryan nearly jumped off the couch. Then did you ever give her flowers? Every kind you can think of, Ethan replied quietly. Except chrysanthemums, right? What about gifts? Every holiday, birthday, business trip, I never forgot. Whenever I saw something that suited her, I bought it. Ryan lifted both thumbs in silent admiration. A model husband, he thought. And dates, he continued. Dinners, movies, beach walks, travel. Ethan's gaze softened a little. We've done all that. We even went back to her hometown for a week last year. His tone carried a trace of regret. Hearing all this, Ryan suddenly felt sorry for him. Ethan had done everything a man could possibly do, and still hadn't won her heart. That could only mean one thing. Emma didn't know he loved her. Ethan, Ryan said, leaning forward seriously, maybe she just doesn't realize how you feel. You should tell her. Tell her you don't want the divorce. Hell, even if it kills you, it's worth trying. Ethan's eyes flickered with fragile hope. Do you think that would work? He murmured. But before Ryan could answer, the soft ding of an incoming message cut through the air, and with it, the faint spark of hope inside Ethan vanished. Ryan glanced at the screen, then at his friend's expression, and immediately bolted for the door. If his wife Lisa ever found out he'd been meddling in Ethan's marriage again, he'd be sleeping on the couch for a month or worse. Meanwhile, I sat at home staring at the message I had just sent. Ethan, when will you be home? Once you're back, let's talk. I'll wait for you so we can finalize the divorce together. Ethan couldn't bring himself to return home. He couldn't even answer my calls. He was terrified that the first thing out of my mouth would be, when are we getting divorced? After 2 weeks of avoidance, he finally heard that I had moved out of the Cole estate and taken Ray, our dog, with me. That was when he realized he couldn't keep running anymore. Back in my room, my heart thudded violently in my chest. I knew that after today, our 3-year marriage would come to an end. And strangely, that thought didn't make me fall apart. It felt like something I'd already accepted long ago. Before I could sink too deep into the sadness, my phone rang sharply, pulling me back to the present. That's when I suddenly remembered. It was my first day at my new job. I quickly washed my face, changed clothes, and rushed downstairs. Uncle Lou, please take me to Finnon Tower, I called out as I grabbed my bag. What are you going there for? Ethan's voice came from behind me, his hand closing gently but firmly around my wrist. His eyes were filled with surprise. I'm going to work, I said, pulling my hand free. I'm already running late. Without another word, he grabbed my hand again and steered me toward the garage. I'll take you, he said firmly. The sudden closeness between just the two of us made me tense. I couldn't help glancing at him. His lips were pressed in a thin line, his long lashes casting faint shadows beneath his eyes. His attention was fixed straight ahead, his posture composed and perfect, almost too perfect, like someone carved from marble. I quickly looked away and clasped my hands together. About the divorce. I haven't signed, he interrupted. I froze, my head snapping toward him. Our eyes met in the air for a brief charged moment before he turned away, avoiding my gaze. Are you unhappy with me? His voice was calm, low, and unreadable. Unhappy? I repeated quietly. What reason would I have to be unhappy with you? He had always treated me so well that I couldn't find a single fault to hold against him. If there was one reason for the divorce, it was simply that he didn't love me. I shook my head. You've been good to me. Then why do you want a divorce? The car screeched to a sudden stop. Ethan turned to face me, his dark eyes locking onto mine, searching almost desperately as if he wanted to see straight into my heart. A lump rose in my throat. The truth was, this marriage wasn't born from love or destiny. It was an exchange, a transaction arranged by our families. The Coles had paid a price to secure me as their daughter-in-law. And now, if he refused to sign the divorce papers, then what was it? Because he thought I wasn't even worthy of being released. I wanted to be the one to say goodbye first. Beep beep. The light turned green, and the car behind us blared its horn impatiently. Ethan Cole started the engine again, silent and expressionless. The air in the car was so thick it felt like you could cut through it. Before stepping out, I said quietly, if one day you ever want a divorce, just tell me. Then I turned and ran straight into Thin On Tower, not realizing that Ethan's eyes had turned red the moment I walked away. Sitting in the driver's seat, he watched my back disappear through the glass doors and whispered, Do you really want to divorce me, Emma? Because if that's what you want, I don't think I can give it to you. In that moment, he looked like a man whose soul had been left behind, like a stray dog abandoned by its owner, lost and helpless. After a long silence, determination hardened in his eyes. He grabbed his phone and dialed Ryan Turner. The line had barely connected when Ethan said flatly, Back then, how did you manage to turn Lisa from straight to not so straight? Ryan, still half asleep, nearly jumped out of bed. He immediately clutched his wife beside him. What the hell are you planning, man? I want Emma to fall in love with me, Ethan said simply. Ryan groaned. Dude, love her all you want. Just leave my wife out of this. Of course, he didn't dare say that aloud. Instead, he stammered. Wait, are you saying you want to become a woman to win her over? Ethan let out a low, cold laugh. Didn't Lisa always want to be the one in control? I don't mind helping her with that. Ryan shivered so hard the blanket nearly fell off. Don't do anything crazy, Ethan. I know how to make Emma love you. Really love you. The kind of love that's so deep she can't let go. And so began Ryan's desperate mission to help Ethan win back his wife. Step 1, a makeover. When Ethan told me he would pick me up after work, I immediately refused. But moments later his text popped up. I'm already downstairs. I frowned. Who could possibly be waiting for me? The man standing before me wasn't the Ethan Cole I knew. Gone was the tailored suit, the cold, untouchable CEO demeanor. Instead, he wore a simple white t-shirt and dark jeans, his hair neatly styled, his entire appearance clean, youthful, like a college freshman. I froze, staring in disbelief. Seeing my stunned expression, he leaned down slightly and gently patted my head. What's wrong? Don't recognize me? His smile was so warm, so gentle, it melted something deep inside me. His face, impossibly handsome and flawless, made my heart race out of control. I looked away quickly, cheeks burning, my chest tight with confusion. Clearing my throat, I stammered. Why? Why are you free to pick me up today? Did you change your style or something? I bit the last part back before it slipped out. Trying to compose myself, I risked another glance at him. I'm free whenever you get off work, he said softly. Anytime. I'll be there to pick you up. The words could have sounded cheesy from anyone else, but from Ethan they were sincere, steady, and somehow believable. Everything he said always felt carefully chosen. My brain short-circuited completely. It felt like a nuclear blast had gone off in my head, leaving nothing but static. I could only manage a quiet automatic response. On the drive home, we talked casually. "What do you want for dinner?" he asked. "Anything's fine," I said. "Then sweet and sour ribs, steamed shrimp, and black chicken soup. Your favorites." I turned to him in surprise. "You know what I like to eat?" A small satisfied smile tugged at his lips. "Of course, I also picked Ray up from the pet hotel, so you don't have to worry." I lowered my gaze, nervously twisting my fingers. "Thank you so much for moving out." My grand plan to leave had already fallen apart. "How was work today?" he asked. "It was fine," I said. "A bit tiring, but okay." "Don't worry," he reassured me gently. "You're smart and capable. You'll do great soon." Hearing him say that filled my chest with a strange fluttering warmth. I couldn't help smiling. "Thanks," I said softly, my voice lighter than before. All evening, I was wrapped in Ethan's gentle care. Even after we went to our separate rooms, I lay in bed feeling as if everything that had happened was just a dream. When I married Ethan Cole, he was 27 and I was 21. Back then, he was a calm, composed man, cold, distant, and impossible to read. 3 years passed and he never changed. But now, all of a sudden, he had transformed completely. His style was different, his words softer, his tone tender and attentive. He smiled more, his voice sometimes teasing, sometimes affectionate, like he had been trained by some invisible hand to become the perfect charmer. Step by step, he was leading me into the sweetest trap imaginable. And even though I was fully aware of it, I still let myself fall in willingly. Ethan had always been a man who kept his word, except when it came to divorce. For half a month straight, he insisted on picking me up after work without missing a single day. That day, I brought along a small cake I had ordered earlier, planning to let him try it. But the moment I got in the car, I knew something was wrong. He was wearing a mask, and his complexion looked pale and unwell. "Ethan, what's wrong?" I asked, startled, pressing my hand to his forehead. His skin was burning hot. The feverish heat beneath my palm made my heart tighten. He had been fine that morning. How was he sick now? "You have a fever," I said anxiously. "I'm fine," he murmured, shaking his head, and reached to start the car. I immediately stopped him, gripping his wrist tightly. "No, you're not fine. You're sick, Ethan. You need to go to the hospital. You can't drive like this." I pulled out my phone to call a car, cursing myself for not having a driver's license. But then he caught my hand again. "Emma, I'm really okay," he said weakly. His stubbornness made me furious. "Okay, you call this okay? You've got a high fever and still want to drive? What are you planning to do, faint halfway there and drag me down with you?" My voice rose louder than I intended, and he froze, eyes wide in surprise. Then he lowered his gaze, a small self-mocking smile tugging at his lips. "Sorry," he said softly. The fragile tone in his voice broke my anger instantly. He looked so pitiful, so human that my heart ached with guilt. "Ethan," I said quietly, "I didn't mean to scold you. I'm just worried." He still refused to go to the hospital, so I had no choice but to call a car and bring us both home. Once there, he managed to eat a little, take some medicine, and immediately fell asleep. I carefully tucked the blanket around him and was about to leave when his hand suddenly closed around mine. In his feverish haze, he mumbled, "Emma, don't go. Don't leave me." It was the first time I'd ever seen him like that. Vulnerable, lost, like a child begging not to be abandoned. My heart softened completely. I squeezed his hand and brushed my fingers gently across his furrowed brow. "I'm not going anywhere," I whispered. "I'll stay right here with you." The next morning, I woke up in his arms. I had no idea when I'd fallen asleep or how I'd ended up in his bed. Luckily, he was still sleeping soundly. I carefully tried to slip out of his embrace, but just as I sat up, a pair of clear, bright eyes opened and met mine. "Good morning, Emma," he said in that warm, soothing voice that always made my heart tremble. His tone was like a gentle autumn breeze, brushing softly against my heart. My eyes drifted down past his collarbone to the defined lines of his chest, half exposed beneath the sheets. I swallowed hard, heat rising in my cheeks. Morning view privileges. Great. At breakfast, the air was thick with awkwardness from what had happened the night before. Then suddenly, "Emma," I looked up just in time to see his handsome face lean in close, making me flinch and instinctively pull back. "There's milk on your lip," he said casually. Then his fingertip brushed lightly across the corner of my mouth. All clean, Ethan added, smiling softly. That smile, gentle, radiant, and heartbreakingly warm, felt like sunlight piercing straight through my chest. My mind went blank and my entire face burned red. What on earth was happening to him lately? Why did he suddenly feel like a sly fox, constantly finding new ways to tempt me? Even the calming mantra I'd been silently reciting all morning had lost its power. After lunch, the company group chat suddenly exploded with messages. I tapped it open and before I could even scroll, the flood of notifications made my head spin. But 2 words jumped out at me instantly. Haley Moore. Haley had come to the company. My coworkers were so thrilled they were practically forming a group to go accidentally bump into her. I, on the other hand, felt a flicker of unease. I tried to calm myself. This company was huge. I was just a low-level assistant. What were the chances I'd actually run into her? But life has a cruel sense of irony. The more you dread something, the faster it finds you. Emma, my colleague Tess said, patting my shoulder. Andy asked you to bring the design draft from yesterday to the meeting room. I grabbed the folder and headed toward the conference room. The moment I opened the door, every head in the room turned toward me, and among those faces was the one I least wanted to see. Haley Moore. She looked me over with amused curiosity before turning to Andy. This is your new assistant? She asked, her tone light but edged. Andy blinked, glancing between the two of us before asking, You two know each other? Haley smiled, polite but not warm. Andy and Haley continued discussing the design details while I, as his assistant, stood silently at his side throughout the meeting. Half an hour later, the meeting ended. Just as everyone began packing up, Haley spoke again. Andy, could I borrow your assistant for about 30 minutes? Andy looked at me, gave a small nod and said, Of course. And so, for the second time, I found myself sitting across from Haley Moore in a coffee shop. She didn't bother with pleasantries this time. Why are you working here? She asked directly. Ethan Cole would never allow his wife to take this kind of job. Unless she rested her chin on her hand, a faintly smug smile curving her lips. You're divorced, aren't you? Her words hit like a knife. My hand tightened around my cup, then slowly loosened. I took a breath. I'm planning to divorce, I said evenly. But it's not finalized yet, and this is my personal matter. Haley chuckled, a soft, almost mocking sound. Sitting back, she straightened her posture, her bright smile sharp enough to sting. Then thank you for letting Ethan go. I didn't like her smile. I liked her tone even less. You and Ethan were never from the same world, she continued smoothly. Staying together only hurts you both. You're a smart woman, Emma. Don't waste your youth on a man who doesn't love you. One day you'll thank yourself for the choice you make today. She spoke like a victor, claiming her prize, every word polished with confidence. This is my manager's number, she said finally, placing a business card on the table. If you ever need help, don't hesitate to call. Then she stood, her heels clicking sharply as she walked away, leaving me staring after her. Haley's appearance hit me like a cold slap, yanking me out of the dream I'd been living in for the past 2 weeks. After all the tenderness, the warmth, the sudden affection, I no longer knew what Ethan was thinking or what any of it truly meant. But one thing I did know. I needed to be ready to end this marriage whenever the moment came. The next morning, the internet was flooded again with photos of Haley and Ethan. Actress Haley Moore returns to the Capitol. Cole Corporation CEO leaves work early to meet her in the parking lot. The comments section was bursting with excitement. They're such a perfect couple. Total power duo. So sweet. Mr. Cole, marry her already. We need a grand once-in-a-lifetime wedding for them. Finally, it's official. Haley and Ethan, the drama couple turned real-life lovers. When Haley makes a move, she never misses. This woman always gets what she wants. Each line of praise cut through me like glass. And though I tried to tell myself I was prepared for this, my heart still ached like it had been torn open all over again. Happiness so blinding it hurt to look at. That was how the comments described them. I couldn't help myself. My thumb hovered, then tapped into Haley Moore's Weibo page. The first post appeared at the top, made my heart drop. My future and my past, all of it belongs only to you. She didn't name him, but she didn't have to. Everyone knew who she meant. I turned off my phone. A sharp crawling ache spread through my chest like thousands of tiny ants devouring me from the inside. It hurt wave after wave until I could barely breathe. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to see Ethan Cole. I didn't want to pretend anymore. I just wanted a divorce. I wanted to run away from him. From this silent one-sided love that was breaking me apart. A knock on my door startled me, followed by his familiar voice. "Emma, if you don't get up now, you'll be late." He knew how much this job meant to me. Forcing myself to sound normal, I answered through the door. "I know." During breakfast, Ethan behaved as though nothing had happened. 3 times I tried to say it, to tell him we should end this, but each time his bright smile and the gentle warmth in his eyes silenced me. Before I got out of the car, he seemed to sense something different in me. His hand reached for mine, his brows drawn together in concern. "Emma, are you feeling okay?" He raised his hand, meaning to check my forehead, but I instinctively pulled away. "I'm fine. You should go to work." Without giving him a chance to respond, I opened the door and got out, walking away without looking back. Behind me, Ethan sat still, his brows furrowed so tightly they could have cracked glass. He reached for his phone to call that dog-brained strategist, Ryan Turner. But the notification that flashed on his screen made his hand freeze midair. Ryan answered sleepily, only to be met with Ethan's icy tone, cold enough to send chills down his spine. "Who gave you permission to hire Haley Moore as our brand ambassador?" Ryan blinked, still half asleep. "What's wrong with hiring her? It's good publicity." "If you hadn't chosen Haley," Ethan snapped, "I wouldn't have run into her yesterday and the paparazzi wouldn't have caught us together. Now the whole internet's on fire and Emma's clearly seen the news this morning. You're going to remove every trace of Haley from my site immediately." Ryan sighed in exasperation. Why did it feel like every disaster in the universe was custom-made for Ethan Cole? "Listen, Ethan," he said quickly, "forget Haley. She doesn't matter right now. What matters is damage control. Get those articles taken down now and explain things to Emma before this blows up any further. I'm not about to get dragged down with you on this win-your-wife-back mission. They say love makes people stupid, and Ryan had never seen a clearer example. Fortunately, his outburst snapped Ethan back to reality. Within 30 minutes, every single article about Ethan Cole and Haley Moore vanished from the internet. And then, in a move no one expected, Ethan, who had never used social media in his life, created a Weibo account. His very first post read, "My wife and I have a very good relationship. I love my wife. Anyone spreading rumors about me and another woman will receive a legal warning directly from my attorney." At the end of the post, he tagged me. When the notification popped up on my phone, I froze. My mind went completely blank. I read his post again, staring at the words and then at my own Weibo account, which had suddenly exploded with followers, messages, and mentions. My hands trembled. What the hell was Ethan Cole doing? The old group chats from college and even high school, silent for years, were suddenly bursting with noise. Everyone tagging me, gossiping, demanding answers. I was on the verge of tears when my phone rang. It was my half-sister Diana, my father's daughter from his second marriage. "Emma, is it true? Are you really married to the CEO of Cole Enterprises? Oh my God, that means I have the richest brother-in-law in the country. Can I come see you tomorrow? Mom wants to meet him too." Her voice was shrill with excitement, like someone who just hit the jackpot. "I'm not your sister," I said coldly, cutting her off. 3 years ago, I stopped having anything to do with your family. My household record only has my name on it," I said flatly. "I don't have a sister." With that, I hung up and switched off my phone entirely. It wasn't even noon yet when someone I never expected showed up. "Emma, why did you turn off your phone?" Ryan Turner came running toward me, panting, sweat dripping down his temples. I frowned in confusion. "What are you doing here? How did you even know I work here?" "It's important. Really important," he said, grabbing my wrist and turning me toward the door. "I can't just leave. I'm working." I pulled my hand away and stepped back, widening the distance between us. Ryan let out a long, frustrated sigh. "Work? Forget work. You're taking the day off. No, scratch that. You're taking the whole week off starting now." Before I could even react, the HR manager, the very one who'd hired me, came rushing over. Bowing respectfully, she said, "Miss Emma, This is our company's chairman, Mr. Turner. Please take as much time off as you need. I froze in disbelief as Ryan practically dragged me out of the office and into his car. Once inside, he immediately launched into a dramatic tirade. Emma, tell me, what exactly are you unhappy about with Ethan? Is he not handsome enough? Not rich enough? Not gentle or thoughtful enough? Why can't you just give him another chance? Please, for once in your life, be blind. Just a little. Take him back. I'm begging you. Don't torture him anymore. Lisa and I barely survived our own mess. But Ethan's about to lose his mind. I blinked, completely thrown off by the speed of his words. It was like someone had hit fast forward. Can you slow down for a second? Ryan clamped his mouth shut, inhaled deeply, then tried again, this time with exaggerated seriousness and an overly formal smile. Emma, Ethan loves you so much that he literally can't live without you. If he loses you, he's as good as dead. And honestly, if he goes down, I'm going with him. So, please just tell me what it would take for you not to divorce him. His tone was so earnest it almost sounded like a public service announcement. I just stared at him, speechless. Love me so much he can't live without me? When did that happen? I pointed to myself uncertainly. You're saying Ethan loves me? Ryan nodded solemnly. He'll die without me. He nodded again so vigorously I thought his neck might snap. He doesn't want a divorce. Another nod, this time nearly frantic. My heart started pounding uncontrollably. I forced myself to stay calm, terrified that this fragile hope might shatter at any moment. But he once told me he would never like me, I said quietly. Ryan practically jumped in his seat. That's not true. He likes you a lot. Very, very much. Think about it. He's always giving you flowers, right? That's him trying to court you. I'm allergic to pollen, I said weakly. I thought he hated me and gave me flowers just to annoy me. Ryan froze midair, then muttered under his breath. Oh my God, Ethan, your idea of romance could kill someone. But what about the gifts? He asked quickly, trying to recover. He's always giving you presents, isn't he? I hesitated. Every time he gives me something, he tells me to lock it in the safe like he's afraid I'll sell it. Ryan slumped back, rubbing his temples, but still refused to give up. Okay, but you've had candlelit dinners, gone to the movies, even to the beach together, right? I nodded. After that dinner, I got acute gastritis. The movie was a horror film. I couldn't sleep for a week. And the beach trip, I got stung by a jellyfish and ended up hospitalized for 3 days. Ryan's face went completely blank, like his soul had just left his body. After a long moment, he sighed. Emma, you've got a strong life force. I'll give you that. He shook his head, genuinely pitying her. You two should probably just break up. I think Ethan's your natural nemesis. I bit my lip, my voice barely above a whisper, more to myself than to him. But I like Ethan Cole. Ryan blinked, not sure he'd heard me right. His voice cracked as he almost shouted. What? What did you just say? You like Ethan? I looked straight into his eyes and nodded seriously. Yes, I like Ethan Cole. When I walked into Ethan's office, he was in the middle of furiously scolding a group of employees. His voice was cold and sharp. A small issue like this and you still can't handle it. What do I even pay you for? If your wives were being harassed by Haley Moore's fans, would you just stand there doing nothing? If Emma gets scared off because of this, all of you are fired. Don't just stand there. If you need to file lawsuits, file them. If you need to hire a PR team, then hire one. I want results before lunch. The door suddenly swung open. The group of terrified employees froze when they saw me. Tyler, Ethan's assistant, was the first to react, stammering, "Ma'am." Immediately, everyone else stiffened like statues. Then, sensing the shift in air pressure behind them, they bolted out of the office in complete panic. Ethan's expression softened the instant he saw me. He quickly walked over, his tone cautious, almost gentle, as though afraid I might disappear if he spoke too loudly. Emma. Behind me, Ryan Turner crossed his arms with a smug grin. All right, Ethan. I brought her here. Consider us even. Just don't drag me and Lisa into your love drama ever again. And with that, he gave a casual wave and strutted out. Ethan didn't even acknowledge him. His focus was entirely on me. He took my hand, his gaze soft and imploring. Emma, could you maybe stay off your phone for a while? I blinked at him, then chuckled lightly. I heard every word you said just now. His face immediately tensed again, the calm mask cracking into panic. Did I scare you? Looking at him so obviously flustered, so adorably unsure, I finally believed what Ryan had said in the car. I leaned closer, rising on my toes so my lips brushed his ear. Ethan Cole, I whispered. You like me, don't you? When I tilted my head to look at him, his eyes went wide, his ears flushing a deep red. It was such a pure, startled expression that I nearly laughed. I smiled playfully. That's too bad because I think I'm about to break our agreement. His brows furrowed slightly. What do you mean? I like you, Ethan, I said softly. He froze completely still like a statue. No words, no movement. Only the steady, heavy thump of his heartbeat filled the silence between us. Emma, he said finally, his voice trembling just a little. What? What did you just say? I smiled, warmth flooding my chest. I said, I love you, Ethan Cole. Then I stood on my toes and kissed the lips I dreamed about 1,000 times. They were soft, exactly like I'd imagined, sweet like fruit jelly. That night, after we finally confessed our feelings, Ethan showed up in my room. He had unbuttoned his pajama shirt halfway, leaving only the bottom 2 buttons closed, his chest perfectly framed by the golden light. He looked heartbreakingly handsome and deliberately pitiful. Honey, he murmured, can I sleep with you tonight? Broad shoulders, narrow waist, long legs, flawless skin, and a dangerously beautiful face. He looked less like a man and more like a seductive fox spirit straight out of a fantasy. Well, if this was temptation, I was done fighting it. I wanted him for so long anyway. I opened my arms and welcomed the happiness I'd been craving for years. That night overflowed with joy until the middle of it, when joy turned into breathless curses muttered between gasps. It wasn't until dawn that the bastard finally decided to let me rest, his smug grin still plastered across his face. By noon the next day I could barely move. My waist ached, my body throbbed, and I was gritting my teeth just to sit up. They say men in their 30s are like wolves and tigers. Apparently they were right. I glared at him. Ethan Cole, let's get divorced. He pushed me gently back onto the bed, eyes gleaming mischievously, his lips curving into that wicked smile. Honey, are you hungry again? Don't worry, your husband's got you covered. I stared at him, horrified, and tried to run. But before I could take a step, he caught my ankle and pulled me right back into bed. That was it. I was doomed. At this rate, I wouldn't be leaving that bed for 3 days and 3 nights.